my distinct pleasure to welcome Major Graciela Orantes as well for taking the time out of her schedule to come chat with us today, share her experiences along with offering some words of encouragement too. And she'll be able to provide us a unique perspective with not only being a medical professional, but she also blends both careers as a medical professional and also happens to be in the armed forces as well. So we're excited to hear her perspective and share her unique experiences. So first off, thank you so much for attending with us today, Major Orantes.
Hey, it's definitely an honor for me to be able to sit here and just share a little bit about my journey and hope that I can help someone behind me.
Most definitely. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our first question right off the bat. So tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I have a non-traditional path as far as getting into the Veterinary Corps with the U.S. Army. Actually, I'm a graduate of the United States Military Academy in 2009. I served 8 years as a Medical Service Corps officer, where I did complete 2 deployments, one to Afghanistan, one to Kuwait, and then I did become a company commander at one point, and then serve as a ops officer for a veterinary unit. But then I went to vet school in Iowa State, and then re-entered the Army. That has always been the plan, to try to retire and do a full career from the Army, and have served as a veterinarian now for 5 years for the Army, and I'm currently in further advanced education because apparently I love being a student for life.
Well, awesome. Thank you much for sharing that. It's such a unique perspective too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm a weird one.
And moving forward to our next question. So when did you first decide to become a veterinarian and why?
So I actually wanted to be a veterinarian since I was a little kid, since I was like 2 or 3.
Oh,
My mom
wow.
had to deal with me rescuing like stray pigeons, cats, dogs out of the streets, trying to find them a shelter, a place to live. And we always had pets growing up, and like I always wanted to be a veterinarian. Um, so my very close West Point friends knew about it, but not a lot of people actually knew that that was my end goal when I first entered the Army.
Oh wow. No, that's awesome. And kudos to your family too for like I said, an aspiring veterinarian early on with bringing pets to tend to and care for at the house. That's awesome.
I'm very blessed that my family loves animals just as much as I do. And I'm a first generation American. So my mom told me stories about her dad raising pigs and like having wildlife and chickens and all that. So always grew up with that.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Moving on to our next question. So how and why did you choose the veterinary school you attended?
So because I already knew that I wanted to be a veterinarian even before day one, arriving at West Point, when I graduated, at every duty station that I went to, I would shadow all the veterinarians. I know that not a lot of people know this, especially if they don't have pets or they just go to like, they've never served overseas, they've never had to go to the military veterinarian, but most of your post has a military veterinarian. And so what I would do is go and ask a whole bunch of questions about what it was like to be a military veterinarian. I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it through the military. And so what I did is I ended up having a list of all these people that I talked to and all the places they graduated from. And ironically, I really just applied to all the schools that I knew from the people that I had met in the Army. Actually, one of my very
Oh,
good friends was during Captain's Career Course, because in the AMED medical Captain's Career Course, we mix all medical professionals together. And at the time, I was a Medical Service Corps officer. There was like one veterinarian in my small group, and I was like, "Hey, you, let's be friends. Tell me more about your job."
well, that's awesome. Talk about networking. I think that's such a huge benefit too in networking too, and I think that's something that could be applicable to every pre-vet too and pre-med student. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep, especially like medical service in the armed forces is very unique. We have so many different specialties that we get to like talk to each other and work in unique environments. And I think it's a great networking opportunity.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving on to our next question. So, what surprised you most about veterinary school?
So, because I was a non-traditional student, I actually went to vet school with an 8-year gap between undergraduate and vet school. It was a little
Mm,
difficult, I think, at first, just to get back into the academic mindset. But I'm very thankful, actually, I'm very blessed to have done my Army service beforehand because I had a much more broader understanding of how wide veterinary, like a degree with veterinary medicine can get you. Wasn't tunnel focused in one area or one specialty. I was able to see how veterinarians can work in so many different roles of a part of just direct patient care, such as public health, government regulation, ensuring the health and safety of soldiers through the food sources. The fact that we know most of the bacteria, parasites, and viruses that humans can get from contact with animals and a wide variety of animals. I think that gave me a broader perspective and allowed me to really fully take advantage of my education and not be so focused on grades too. I think that sometimes that can be a downfall of going straight from undergrad to vet school, is not having a little bit of that perspective.
got it. No, that's fascinating, especially the different applicability too of being a veterinarian in the military, gain the different exposure to public health along with checking the food sanitary for that aspect too. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And moving on to our next question. So, what was the biggest challenge you faced in vet school?
I think my biggest challenge was just adapting to being a civilian. I went to military high school, military undergrad. I had an 8-year military service. So there is always challenges, it becomes your identity. But one of the things I recommend to all aspiring students, especially if they are veterans, is to contact their student veterinary council. Every school has it, and just link in with them. Like even just being able, at least Iowa State, it was just great. Once a week, we would meet and have dinner, and then like
Oh,
I didn't have to talk about school. I could talk our military language and jargon that I did not realize is a thing because that became my second language or third language in my case, and freely curse. I'm not gonna lie, I cuss, but you can't do that in an educational environment. So be able to go with other people who have had various experiences was really great. Um, and just learning that in the end, it doesn't matter if you were like number one or the last in class. Everybody that graduates is going to be called a doctor. The most important part is teamwork. And I think that was the biggest challenge because a lot of my classmates have been in an individual setting up till getting to vet school, right? Like it's all about your individual grades, your individual like animal hours, your individual experiences that gets you into vet school. And they had more of a bit of a challenge because in veterinary medicine, it is a team effort. It is a team sport because you can be the best doctor, but if you do not know how to work with your vet technicians, your administrative staff, your hospital staff, your receptionists, you can't be successful. So that was a blessing that I got to bring a little bit into it and then learn from my amazing classmates, but they were so brilliant and smart and try to get back into academics because 8 years is a long time to lose that skill of sitting for 8 hours at a time listening to teachers drone on.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much for that team mindset. And I think for those students as well that feel kind of that hesitation towards like, do I really belong here? For those that get into veterinary school, I think you just added that reassurance of like, you are valued, you are worthy to be a student and like excel and be a great medical professional. I think you added to that too. So I appreciate those words of encouragement. Thank you.
And I think that's one of the things, the realization, right? Like the soft skills that we have earned and learned, like it's valid, it's real, it's needed. Like we're like, oh, what's the soft skill? Like, I mean, even the word soft skill, like, oh, it doesn't sound important, but no, it's value added to what we bring. And then for me, hey, as a Latina and like from a city girl, just being able to represent and like learn from everybody else was great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving on to our next question. So, did you choose to specialize in any specific aspect of veterinary care?
So that's the funny part for me. So to me, as a first generation American college student professional, I hit like the goal once I was called Dr. Orantes, right? And
Yes.
I did not realize that there was so much more beyond that. Like even having been in the military, there's so much more like specialization. And I have the biggest imposter syndrome ever. But thankfully I have amazing colleagues, subordinates, peers, like mentors and bosses that have like always encouraged me. And one of the things in the military, especially in the veterinary corps, is if you're going to rise up to make O5 or O6, you have to specialize. If not, you won't progress, right? And so it was like an added opportunity to pursue a specialization. And so there are 5 different specializations within the veterinary corps. You can be preventative medicine, you can become a specialist in a specific area, surgeon, large animal, internal medicine, cardiology, radiology. You can become a pathologist, a lab animal veterinarian, or you can go and earn a PhD. So I decided to become a pathologist. And I
Nice.
am currently in residency. I had just finished my first year of residency for that. And I'm very thankful
Awesome.
for that opportunity. It's mind blowing. Like it's just opening so many more things. It's combining things that I love about veterinary medicine and I still get to do medicine.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And moving forward, so our next question is, so what is unique about serving as a veterinarian in the Army as well?
So I won't lie, like being a veterinarian in the Army is a lot of work. We are a hot commodity. And I only say that because we don't just serve like the Army, we serve all of the Department of Defense. We take care of Navy, Air Force, Marines, um, Army as well. We also take care of the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol dogs and stuff like that. So it is a lot of work, but it is such a blessing because we have a unique perspective and job that nobody else has. The fact that I can, as a branch OIC, was in charge of 2 kennels, Navy and Army, which meant that I was their veterinarian 24/7 of 18 military working dogs. And I was in charge of
Wow.
all their routine medical care and all the emergency care, and in advocating for the welfare and advocating on behalf of the MWDs to the units was a very unique opportunity, and seeing the amazing things that these athletic dogs can do. On top of that, working with my food safety food specialist, ensuring that the food that all of our DoD families and soldiers consume, that means like PX, NEX, like the little like shop pets, your Burger Kings and things like that, or like your installation based festivals, food trucks and things like that. Every food that comes into post gets inspected by one of our soldiers, and by the veterinarians on a routine basis as well. Taking care of all the CDC, Child Development Center pets that they get, like the hamsters and the lizards and fish.
Nice.
Also taking care, I was in Japan, so I was responsible for also the care of all the privately owned animals for our service members, so all their cats and dogs that they brought over, especially because of language barriers and everything like that. Then we became like the sole and primary care for them. And then like food defense, right? Ensuring that the food defense, and then public health, pest control management and things like that. Or participating in exercises with nation partners was very interesting, teaching the Japanese handlers how to do first aid care to their military working dogs, or how to incorporate a military working dog program with their forces. Um, or participating in these allied partnerships, because even the food that goes in the ships we inspect, so like being present whenever you have those partner naval operations and things like that that happen in the PACOM, we always had a soldier there. So
No.
having that perspective is really cool. The other part is now that I'm here on the pathology center is a lot of veterinarians and Army veterinarians were part of the research for our COVID vaccines. So even things
Wow.
like that, like we help with research with like even burn management, first aid kits for our medics and our Navy counterparts. First, the first life support and things like that for our combat soldiers. So to know that we're part of that type of research and help with that is incredible. So just having that wide perspective is amazing. And honestly, being able to lead a team with a little bit of people. For me, for example, I ended up building the clinic from scratch. So guess who had to teach the spouses or the food inspectors to help me do anesthesia so I can take care of our very important warriors, which are four-legged warriors, our military working dogs. I had to. So learning to teach like was a really interesting experience, and maybe I'll become a teacher in the future. I don't know. It was a very good experience too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And moving on to the next question. If you had to do it all over again, would you still choose your career path? Why or why not?
I absolutely would. And I would do it the crazy way again. Yes, it was painful to transition from active duty to reserves, back to active duty, and then back to school. I keep getting 4 and 8 year gaps in between my schooling, and that can be painful. But honestly, all the experiences and all the people I've met has just opened my perspective on the importance of veterinary medicine and how we serve such an important function in society. And then it also helped that I was a medical service corps officer beforehand. So I, from the beginning, got to see the One Health concept of like the amazing work our nurses and combat medics do, and our doctors and PAs and physical therapists and all that. And then how I get to bring that in with how veterinarians can play a role in that and be that link. So yeah, I would do it all over for sure, hands down.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I think that provides reassurance as well for those students that may not have a traditional path too, and words of encouragement too. That, like I said, I think that's just additional experience that you can leverage for vet school.
Yes, absolutely.
Moving on to our next question. Has being a veterinarian met your expectations?
It has surpassed my expectations for sure. The
Awesome.
only challenge is like obviously I want more animal time, right? When I can, and there's competing demands. But all of us have found very creative ways to maintain that. So I absolutely can't. I love being a veterinarian.
That's awesome. And moving forward, what do you like most about being a veterinarian? And what do you like least about being a veterinarian as well?
What I like being about veterinarian, which could maybe also be the least part, is like it's like having a different language, right? Like there's that medical jargon that I have to maintain in order to properly and clearly communicate with my colleagues, but also translating it and being able to talk to the owners, right, or the of the animals, and being able to get buy-in, right? Like it's just like I'm trying to get that buy-in to let you know that I'm speaking on behalf of your animal, working animal or pet, and in the best interest, and then have that team approach of like, let's try this, and if it doesn't work, we can try again. And that aspect has always been very interesting to me. But I'm as a pathologist, I'm a nerd about how the body works. I think it's incredible on how it reacts
Yeah.
to injury and disease, and like being able to use our own mechanisms to help heal is interesting. And the other part is body language, right? Like the animals can't speak. And so like you really have to be adept at reading body language. And that's helpful too with reading body language in our communication with humans, right? Every day. So that's what I like. The least part about veterinary medicine is discussing finances. I think that's a unique aspect In our medical world, I don't think any other doctor other than veterinarians has had to have those communications about like finances directly for every case that they talk to. So it does make it challenging of trying to find the best solution at the financial point that is viable for the owner and that pet, and to make that pet comfortable, you know, and understanding quality of life. We can be doctors and we can try to like cure it all, but in the end, it's about the quality of life of that patient too.
Correct. No, that's a fair statement. Thank you so much for sharing that. And moving forward, so what does a typical day look like for you? I know balancing both as a medical professional, but also as a military service member as well.
I would love to say that there is a typical day in the life of an Army veterinarian. It really depends on what the priority and the mission set is. It is always balancing. I don't think I have a good answer for that. I will say that I've had to find ways to not only keep up with my like physical requirements for the Army and keep up with my Army courses. I just finished my ILE right now in the middle of residency. So I can stay competitive as an officer, right? Never forgetting that I'm here to serve soldiers and our four-legged warriors who are also soldiers. Um, but also trying to keep up with my competency as a veterinarian. So trying to any opportunity to go take some CE, go to conferences so that I can stay up to date with as much information as possible. So I just it's a seesaw, you know. If in this moment I'm able to like dedicate more time to CE, I'll do that. If I need to catch up on my casework, I catch up on my casework. If I have to catch up with officership stuff, I do that. So there is no typical day. That's the best part. You're never bored because you don't know what you're gonna have.
Absolutely. That's a great outlook on it. Absolutely. And moving forward, how much of your work is research and or teaching? And do you like the amount of each that you currently participate in? If not, why?
So I think that I'm in a unique position right now because I'm a resident. So like a lot is research right now, like just researching so I can get through my caseloads. But I did participate in a research paper, so that was a individual endeavor. When I was out as a branch chief or at the clinic and stuff like that, I would say research, especially as a young veterinarian, you're always researching your casework, right? Because you're always making sure that you are recommending the appropriate treatment plans and medications and stuff like that. And you're always consulting with your colleagues. I think that's an important thing that I want to impart is like, as a veterinarian, you can't work by yourself. You're always consulting. Even when I was a general practitioner and even now as a pathologist, I'm always consulting. And then teaching, I did a lot of teaching when I had to train. Um, Actually, you just do teaching in general, even as an officer. As an officer, part of your job is to teach your soldiers, and so that they can be leaders and that they can take over missions without you having direct oversight with that. So that's like incorporated in your day-to-day duties as well. As a veterinarian, I love teaching. So anytime that there's a case and I have a vet technician that is interested in learning from me, I will go on about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Because I was raised as an officer first, I always believe in training others so that they can fill your spot because it's all force multiplier. There's only one of me, but if I can train more people to fill in gaps, then I can treat more patients and then I could get more things done.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving on average, how many of hours a week do you work? If you can answer, how many hours do you sleep per night, and how many weeks of vacation do you take?
Oh, this is a great question. That's a great question. So did I mention that I'm non-traditional and I came in through the other route? So my perspective of work-life balance is a little skewed. Technically, I tend to work 12 to 15 hours daily, but
Mhm.
I don't know if that's just a me problem or an army problem, but I also am a resident, so we gotta talk about that. And my previous assignment, I was the only one taking care of 18 military working dogs and 2,000 privately owned
Wow.
animals in 5 installations. So
Wow.
it depends on what your duty assignment is. How about that?
Yes, that makes sense. Most definitely. What would you characterize as your typical average hours of sleep do you get?
So now I've been a lot more conscious about it because I'm trying to take care of my mental health and my wellness. I do try to get at least 6 to 7 hours sleep a night. On bad days, such as pulling overnights or like military working dog, it's just like any other officer, like or any army patrol or whatever. You just share duties as far as like sleep cycles. So
Got it. That makes sense. And
as
then,
as far as weeks of vacation, we get 4 weeks a year. So
yes, which is another benefit of being in the military. Very, very different. Get more benefits in the military side as
oh yeah,
compared
I've
to
talked to a
commercial
lot
and
of
private.
my civilian colleagues, and that is not what they get. So when
Correct.
I sit here and want to maybe whine a little bit about my long hours, I have to think about the fact of all my 4 day weekends I get and my 4 weeks off I get that nobody else gets in the civilian side. So
That's right. And then moving on, are you satisfied with your income?
I am. I'm not one of those veterinarians that compares herself to like what the outside civilians pay.
Mhm.
Yes, I will say that it's not comparable as far as like dollar to dollar, but I will say, just like I said, I get 4 weeks off. I get like all the federal holidays off. If I'm sick, I can work from home. I can go to sick call if I'm feeling absolutely like crap and not take a pay cut. Um, if the caseload is decreased, it doesn't decrease my money in my pocket. And I also have a dependent that's very well taken care of. She has great medical care that saves a lot of money. She has chronic disease. So like you guys know how medicines cost. So in those aspects, I'm very blessed. So I'm
Awesome.
satisfied.
No, that's awesome. Plus occasional travel, right, with military assignments too. You had mentioned you were in Japan previously, so
Japan,
that's
three
awesome.
years.
That's awesome. Thank you. Uh, and if you took out educational loans, is and or was paying them back a strain? And what advice do you give to students who want to pursue a similar career but face debt due to educational loans?
So for me, again, a unique experience. I didn't have undergraduate loans because I went to West Point. But I paid with my service. And then I got the health profession scholarship program that paid 3 years of my vet school. Thankfully, I was a combat vet with 8 years of experience, of 8 years of service. So I was able to use my GI Bill for my first year of vet school. So my loan was small compared to most of my peers. So for me, it's not a strain. A lot of my peers are able to do the public service loan forgiveness is what they're looking for to just ensuring so that they can pay for most of the costs. So the Army service tends to be um, a good path to take care of educational loans. For me, I know that becoming a veterinarian is very expensive. Um, my recommendation is it doesn't matter what school you go to, right? Don't try to go to the most prestigious school that's very expensive just because you think you're going to get a better education. It's what you make your experience worth, right? I've met plenty of amazing veterinarians from varying institutions. So it really is up to the student to make the best of their education experience. Additionally, there's other loans that not just the Army. I just think that the Army's health profession scholarships program is you can't imitate it. You get a monthly allowance, you get paid for your books and tuition, and you just get to do 3 4 years. Anybody can do anything for 3 to 4 years, and earn that professional experience that even makes you competitive. Even if you just do your like payback, like your 4 years, and you go back to the civilian world, you are very competitive because of the leadership experience that you have, able to build teams and manage organizations. And right now, we're severely needing veterinarians in the civilian side, especially ones to lead organizations and clinics. And so you'll be fine.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. And moving on to the next question. So what information and advice do you wish you had known when you were a pre-vet student?
So I did life sciences pre-med at West Point. So I didn't get to do the agricultural part of it or nutritional part of as far as how that affected animal stuff. Um, So I don't know if I have any good information to give with that. I think like for me, the biggest thing to advise for any pre-vet student is to not get tunnel focused on one specialty. I've had too many classmates that are like they grew up, farming and they think that they just want to be a large animal veterinarian, but then like they discover it and get into it and aren't happy and then they have to transition to something different, or someone that was gun-ho about being a surgeon and realized they hated doing surgery, right? So my biggest thing is get as much experiences with a wide variety of veterinarians and different experiences in different spaces, just to have that broad perspective.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And moving forward, so from your perspective, what is the biggest problem in animal healthcare today?
Yeah, that's a spicy question right there. I think there unfortunately tends to be there's this disparity because of the cost of veterinary medicine. There's this misunderstanding that veterinarians are somehow like super rich and have like three Mercedes Benz because like we're veterinarians. Let me tell you, that's not true. I haven't met a single veterinarian that has three Mercedes Benz. That's not true. Or that we don't care about animals because we have to charge for our services. I don't think that that's necessarily the fault of the public. I just think that because healthcare cost is hidden behind insurances and insurance claims, there is that lack of perspective of like the cost of veterinary medicine. The costs are very comparable, maybe even lower. Um, we do our best to try to meet and take care of your pets. We want to take care of your pets, and I think that's the hardest part. And my my concern, my personal, this is just Graciela Orantes' perspective, is like we're trying to move into more corporates, and are trying to model the human health system a little bit, but that actually ties our hands, veterinarians, and what we can do. It actually kills the ability of small mom and pop veterinary clinics to provide the care that you want. Everybody has different wants from their providers. Not every provider is a fit for everybody. But if we start corporizing, making everything into a corporate, you're going to have decreased say or options in the type of care that you get for your pets. And I think that also is that lack of planning for having a pet, right? Like having a pet is like having another like financial burden that you need to account for in your like finances. And with that, the best thing is that there is pet insurance now that can help cover for that. So we don't have to have those tough conversations. That's something that I have seen within the last like 10 years grown increasingly since I was a vet student. And so we have those options now, so that we can take care of your pets. So I don't know. We don't have enough veterinarians is one, and we don't have enough vet technicians that stay because we're unable to pay our vet techs appropriately so that we can keep them. So that is a challenge.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And going to the next question, where do you see veterinary medicine in general in the next 10 years?
Ooh, that is something I haven't really pondered very much right now. Um, I am praying that we have a lot more veterinarians, um, that there is less burnout in our industry, because that is a big problem in our industry right now. And that we can provide care to most of our like communities. The biggest thing that I would hope for, though, is the biggest thing that is a concern right now to me is the lack of large animal and equine veterinarians, right? Because um, because of the cost of medicine and the work-life balance. So I would hope that that industry could see a growth in veterinarians and that the community can support those veterinarians, because that's the biggest thing. It's like we need the community and we need the government to support those veterinarians, because that's going to impact our food sources too, and that's going to impact our food prices if we're not able to take care of the livestock. And so that's what we need. That's what I hope we get to focus on.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. And moving forward to our next question. So, what types of outreach and volunteer work do you do, if any?
I wish I had time right now. I Whenever an opportunity comes out, I go and help, like speaking to you guys or any other
Yes,
thing. I try to work in shelters as much as I can, but and then work with veterinary organizations, sorry, not veterinary, veteran organizations as well. But right now, I'm resident mode, so not many opportunities right now.
absolutely. Totally understandable. And we do appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. So, that's always a win for us. Thank you. And moving forward to the next question. How do you spend your free time? Any particular hobbies, if any?
Well, right now I have decided that I'm going to learn to kayak, and thankfully Walter Reed. And then there's the TRR. I forgot the acronym, but they're a nonprofit organization that helps veterans like learn how to kayak. So that's my thing my one thing I do once a week. And then I tend to crochet and knit, and read fun
Wow.
books when I can, and try to run and stay fit. But that's it for now. Oh, I'm starting baking and gardening. I know this sounds like old lady stuff, but honestly, like it is just use my brain right now and like do something like artistic and with my hands when I get home.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing and moving forward. So, what qualities have led you to be
Yeah.
successful in your current role, too?
Uh, I think I'm stubborn, and that can be helpful too.
Mm,
So, even though I have imposter syndrome, I have a no quit attitude. But I think I've been adapted and developed in my whole time of service. Um,
mm.
and knowing to reach out and asking for help is the biggest thing. Um, and yeah, just persevering and learning and just being curious. I think like always being curious and always wanting to learn from others has been key.
No, that's awesome. And I definitely appreciate that perspective that you provided, especially the Army fortitude and resilience that I think you said was extremely beneficial for your time in vet school, too. So, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Next question. What would you say to yourself 10 years ago?
What would I say? Huh. Well, at that point, I think I was applying to vet school, so I think I would tell myself that there's something even more than just becoming a doctor that I could achieve, and that to continue the path, that to believe in myself. I definitely had doubts step of the way, especially as non-traditional, right? Like, especially because you get to hear like, oh, well, no one's done this before, or like, why are you doing it this way? And like, that's you're very unique, and like we don't know where to place you, kind of thing. And it always makes you like kind of like take a step back and be like, am I doing something wrong? Should I should I go a different way?
Yes.
But I think having a system, a sounding board, a support system that you can always talk to, and people that know you on your weakness and strengths, right? Like, I think authenticity is important. And I think just keeping the authenticity throughout is important. So believing in myself and, telling her, hey, there's even better things there.
Well, that's awesome. And I think for all those that will be listening to this as well, I think you're a testimony of what a awesome success story too that we can all learn from. And so we appreciate that tremendously.
Oh, thank you.
So I think that sums up our questions that we have scheduled for today. I will say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be able to speak with us. And I know all those that will be listening to this video session will gain such priceless knowledge from the shared unique experiences that you provided to. And on behalf of just the Health Professions Student Association, we thank you. And I was going to ask if there's any final remarks that you have, more so for the audience that will be in attendance, for any pre-vet students or any students that actually might be interested in pursuing the similar path that you pursued as well. Do you have any final remarks to add?
I think for everybody, it's just like, hey, if it's in your dream and it's in your passion, like it's been my passion since I was 2 to be a veterinarian. Yes, I took a lot of twists and turns to get there, but the biggest thing I say is enjoy the journey. I think we can get so focused on like what the next goal is and what the next step is. And I was very guilty of that. And I think I look back and I was like, oh my gosh, like look at all these amazing people I met and these opportunities and all of that. So I think like really like do enjoy your journey. And the career within the military is very unique. It gives you such a unique perspective. I'm not saying it's not going to be hard. It absolutely is. I'm not one to sugarcoat it. But if you have determination and passion and you learn to work in a team, like it's honestly an easy career, and you get such a great experience, and you get to value your education so much more because you have a different perspective. Yeah, I think that's all.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Very insightful. And thank you again tremendously. We appreciate it. Major Graciela Orantes, thank you again for taking the time to be joined here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.